Dustin Young, Lone Roamer, and today we are going to change the star ratchet from a 36 to a 54 tooth on a DT Swiss 180 EXP hub. This is different than your standard hubs because they're real easy to do. These have a threaded system on one side, and so you've got to pull this apart, change a bearing, make sure you have the right tools to be able to do the job. Simple thing I already took, so wheels off. I took the rotor off because I don't want to contaminate the rotor in any way, shape, or form. You want to take your cassette off, which will pull the driver body off. You just grab those, lift them up. They're pretty easy. Good time to clean that up. Make sure you re-grease everything, like I said. And you're going to pull your spring, and you're going to pull this side, which looks just like an old DT Swiss side, right? It's a tooth-geared system. You're going to sit that aside. You're going to take this red spacer. Doesn't matter, just sit it down. It can go back on any way you want. And then what we get to is this side, which is threaded in. So this is permanently in there. I'll try to get a little bit closer up in the light here. So you can see that's permanently threaded in there on that side. So what we're going to do now is, this is the tool that you buy. I'll put a part number down in the link. And in order to get this thing off, slide this in. I put mine in the vise. Use the wheel like a lever. You want to go left, or you want to go, if it's on here, you want to go counterclockwise. Oh, there we go. A little bit of forcing it. That was more force than I would ever like to have applied to this, but so be it. Sounds like it's free. Alright, so this is free, and it's going to come off. This axle will just come out, or you can just take that piece off. So you're going to pull this off. We are going to need to get that bearing out next. So just sit your axle aside here. Again, now's a good time. That thing was pretty tight. Check the bearing so it's good, so I don't have that problem. Now's a good time to just go through and inspect everything. That is interesting. I don't know if I can make this in enough light work, but if you can see this, this is actually some kind of pressed in insert. So I'm really glad I didn't start to have a problem, because you can see I don't think that's machined in. That's got a lip like it's an insert. So definitely in an interesting space. Definitely in an interesting space where you don't want to cause that to spin or do anything strange. Just going to inspect in here, make sure all these bearings look good, make sure nothing's dirty. That bearing's still spinning great. So on the 180 or on the EXP stuff, the bearing for the other side of the axle is actually built into this component. So you only have a pressed bearing on the one side, and you actually have to get this bearing out and change it. So I bought the tool for this so that you could sit the bearing in the tool. I'll also put that part number. You take a 12 mil socket. They have a tool, but I couldn't get the tool. It took me months to get these two in stock right now. You're just going to tap that bearing out. A couple quick taps. 12 mil socket will work just fine. If you don't have this tool to do this with, which would be nice, if you don't have this tool, what I would suggest at that point is to make yourself some kind of little makeshift press. You can make a little press with washers and bolts, and you can slide the washer over against. You just need to find the right size washer, and then something like this that everything can sit against and press it out. Or this didn't come out in a very difficult manner, so hold it and just tap it, and you probably could have got it apart just fine. Okay. So one thing to note, there's two. One side is red. Again, I think my light's not that great. One side of this bearing is colored like a red, and one side is a black. the colored side presses up and into this. When you're done, what you should see is the black seal side of the bearing out. So make sure you do that right. Okay. All right. I am going to wipe this down. These are ceramic bearings in the 180. So be nice to them. They're amazing. I mean, they are smooth as smooth gets when they're good. So treat them really good and make sure you're doing a good job there. From doing this, I've got some dirt, so I'm going to get a fresh rag. I'm going to lay this out. I don't want any loose impediments or dirt getting in here as I put it together at all. Okay, so I'm going to take this same tool. I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to take the special grease that came with the kit. So when you get the kit in a bag, it'll come with grease, a new spring. The side that doesn't thread, the side that threads. I think you can order it with a bearing, and this lock ring. So that's everything that it comes with. The first thing you want to do is take some of this grease. By the way, this process shouldn't take you very long. Take some of this grease, squirt it in there. Just take your finger, just run that grease around in there. You don't need to use special grease for this side. It's just grease. You could use any decent grease. Again, remember the colored side. So the colored side of the bearing goes in and the black side should be facing you. Start to get it pressed into place, and then I'm just going to tap it down. They are really simple bearings. They did not make these so tight you need a press. You can just tap. I wasn't even tapping that hard. If you want, you can press it. I have bearing presses, but again, I don't see the point in this one. Here. So I'm going to go ahead while I've got this out. I'm going to clean this axle up really good. Make sure I've got no dirt, no damage, nothing going on with the axle. I'm going to put a little grease on this end, because this is the end that's going back in. And I'll put a little grease on this end. Leave the middle nice and clean. I'm going to go ahead and slide that axle back into place. Nice and simple. The long side of the axle should be sticking up. Out the other side, the axle actually won't stick all the way through. I'm going to take this, slide it on over the axle, and you're going to turn clockwise to begin the tightening process. Okay, just get that down like that, get it pretty tight. See, if you greased it right, the tool's going to come out nice and dirty. We're going to simply do what we did again. We will take this, set it in place. Again, righty-tighty, so just give it a few bounces like that. Nice and snug. And then go ahead and take that off. That is okay, so that's pretty much all there is to change in that side. Now that that's tight and it's in, the axle's in, go ahead, make sure this is wiped down, no contaminants on it, and just grease this up really good. Both sides, get grease in it, all around it. Make sure you got plenty of grease on the axle. And then just slide this bad boy into place. Okay. Now, one thing it comes with is a new lock ring, this red lock ring. We're not going to use it, and we're not going to use it because that lock ring is actually in here, and you don't need to change it. I'm not pulling this, I'm not damaging this lock ring to get it out, and I'm not changing this bearing or servicing this bearing today. So that lock ring can just go back in the bag and stay there with the other parts that were left. Okay, so now we are going, I like a lot of grease. I like to quiet these down as much as I can. Plus it's just good for them. Keep these from being real noisy. Put enough on to spread it across both. Okay, so that's done. I'm going to take the spring with grease on my hand. I'm going to go ahead and grease that spring and put that together. Go ahead and get all the grease off my hands. I'm going to go ahead and wipe out any old grease out of here. Just make sure this is pretty clean. You know, if that ring was, you're taking this apart, that ring will come out. If you took a pick, if you're taking that apart, I am not taking that apart. So just make sure it's slid in the right place. Start to push this back on. That is nice and quiet when it's serviced. It is very loud when it's not. Pop that on, folks. That is a lot of beautiful engagement now. So we now have a 54 tooth star ratchet. It doesn't take that long. You can do this at home. You can do it at a shop. Again, of all this, the most critical tool is this one. Again, I'll put the part number in there. It's an HXT, and then it's a bunch of X's, 00N8387S. This is the tool that you absolutely have to have. There's no other replacement. I looked all over trying to figure something else out, and it's a pricey little tool. This is just really nice because it fits perfectly with the part, and you can drive the bearing out and in without doing anything janky, hold it in your hands. It is just nice. So those two, if you have these two parts, you'll always be able to do this job easy. Remember, use plenty of their special grease. It's just good for the system, plus it keeps it quieted down. You can lighten up the grease if you're one of those people that likes to sound like your wheels are going down the trail super angry. Go for it, make all the noise you can. I hope this video helps if you ever want to do it. Take your time. Again, it's probably a 10 or 15 minute job at home. If I did this without explaining the process, 10 minutes. So, and that could be even taking the wheel off and putting the wheel on. So hope this helped. Hope you really enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you out on the trails.